the mastering of our mindsets, I want to talk about how little many of us think we know about what that means. I want to talk about it. I want to express my mind. I want to enjoy the world. I want to be heard or seen through the words that I speak, right? How many of us are aware that our minds are often our biggest weapon against others, or our biggest asset in helping ourselves or others through this process we call transformation, right? It could be just any old day in the life of anybody who's decided to go on this pleasure trip through the roaming of the halls, right? We're on this guidance for the soul, and we want to acknowledge to those who are not yet part of the studio audience, right? It's not a studio audience, but there are people who will start to watch these videos down the road, and this message is also for them. Anyone who partakes in this video in any way, shape, or format at any time will often start to hear the words that make sense for them as well. So while others will say, I have it all figured out, my mind is telling me that I'm troubled in my heart, right? Others will say, no, I'm just fine, thank you very much. I want to know what's the deal, or what are the tips on how to master my mindset. Is it always there, creating havoc for me in my heart? Or is it somewhat shaken when those threads start to come undone in the fabric that we weave called life? Some of us are pretending to have it all figured out. Some of us assume I know it all. What happens when you realize that you have been doing a lot of work on your own, or in a group setting especially, is that our minds are our beauty for the most part in how we create our experiences and our love for each other. So when someone says, I want to know the nitty-gritty about mastering my mindset, I would say first and foremost, if you have a specific topic you want to talk about, within that realm of it, mastering of our mindsets is a huge field of endeavor for many. Is it just a general introduction into the idea of what a mindset really is? We all know those thoughts, feelings, and wishes and dreams, right? How many of us are hoping that by mastering our mindset, we get access to those fields of vision that align us with our whole heart, right? Or our mind, or those on the other side of the veil. Some of us are in that method of, I connect with those higher sources of vision, whether they are of faith or not, depending on your outlook on life. Okay? The mastering of our mindsets doesn't mean we have to connect with higher sources of vision in order to get the results that we want. This is available to everybody. Okay? What you start to realize within that vision is when I am thinking about things of negative in my mind, I often don't even realize it until it's too late. Okay? Many people are starting to see the instant gratification that they get in realizing they've hit upon a story or two that enlightens them to the nature of what our mindset actually is. But how do we take it upon ourselves to open up the door, right? We have to unlock it first. Who's got the key to unlocking that wisdom? Many of us would say, my mindset is of no consequence. I just create with the beauty of who I am every day, move along in my life, and enjoy the bounty as I present it to others, right? These are those souls who said, I thought I had it all figured out, but it's still a little rough around the edges. The members of society who are still creating from the law of attraction might want to take notice. There are more souls here who have done everything in their power to produce the results of awareness and expectation and vision boarding and vision enlightenment. We're going to talk about why is my vision board producing much results, right? Okay, you would be surprised to say that when your vision involves anybody around you, you're also creating with their hearts. This is where the best of the best start to come in, because we can tell you where you are or are not in alignment with those around you. How's that for a master, right? Now, what does that mean? It's not about saying everyone has to start being on the lookout around me and surrounding people with only people who agree with who I am. That's not the point of it. It's to challenge us to rise into a different way of being so that those who do indeed align with us, one, actually understand that that's what's going on, and two, those who disagree with who I am and would say, I want more of that one, right? If you don't feel the connection with me, it's fine. We don't have to align in our mindsets in order to create a beautiful expression of relationship, right? It's the most difficult thing that people can do sometimes is I don't align with people who do not agree with how I am in my mind or my body or my energy. But on this episode of Guidance for the Soul, I want to inform you of that disagreement. Okay, so I had a disagreement with one of my friends yesterday in my mind, right? It could be anyone. At what point does that disagreement reveal itself it's like the reality in which we create? Some people, like Brenda, we would say her, are very much aware that she gets the messages handed to her very quickly and things can come true. Now, if I make a choice to master the vision and say I need to take an appropriate action for that thought, now that thought that I have, I can often just let it go, right? It depends. Some other times it must be cleared out. And how do we do that? We can either ask for forgiveness in our hearts, we can apologize sincerely in our minds, or we can say, I am assuming that my souls know that I always come to them with love in my mind, and my beauty is that it always feels a little bit disconnected sometimes when I'm running it's like ragged. Okay, so how many of us are running ragged and our thoughts are so jumbled that we can't even focus on what we're creating in this world? That's the nature of where I'm going with another set of people who are going to be joining me for a group session via Zoom. It's kind of like understanding that your own vision of what a mastering of a mindset is. Okay? Masters don't allow for the negativity into their lives for the most part, right? Or they know how to navigate it no matter where they ride. Okay, because we're riding this wave of awareness. And that's the majority of the people who I align with, right? We're expecting a lot of turbulence in the future. Well, it doesn't have to be so. Okay, it can be of trauma for some people who are trying to unwind those visions of what trauma can do to our minds. We have to take the time necessary to unwind our hearts from those visions that still, it's like the praying for release from those sins of past, potentially, depending on where you reside. If you felt as if you were in the mind of sin, you could say, I will align with that highest of high in my own heart and be forgiven immediately by his soul and those around me. I have to be free from that vision of there's something wrong with who I am, first and foremost, to get over that vision of I don't have it all figured out yet. Most of us don't. Most of us want to play the game of life. We assume that we're good at what we do. But when we come into the magic of being an empath, for instance, you start to realize that you're not alone in your creative ability to bring people in. Okay? When we start to create with others around us, that's going to give us a definite difference in how we perceive the events that come into our vision. That's the nature of love, of the mindset. You can create the best vision for yourself and your family and your friends very easily for the most part. Once we go to the realm of other, who is actually all of us creating together, it's like we liven up the party with those who are free, like Free Willy. There's another vision of an orca whale that's going to come through for certain people who I know. They're going to know what that vision means. It's going to be a special message for certain people. And this is the nature of it. Okay? My mind is just fine, is where most people land. And yet, we find ourselves in the struggle of our lives in some situations. Others are saying this is a life and death situation. Others are saying, I just want to create a beautiful future for me and my family, not even realizing that the future is already there. It is just coming back to me as I expect it to. Now, how many people say, I didn't even know that this person was coming into my life who is so special to me and honoring me with their presence? I want to say hello, right? This is the nature of love of co-creation. Okay, it's the vision questing as well. When we come together in a group setting, you'll start to see how the play on words is very instructive. So many masters will use different words to align themselves with various levels of understanding. An archangel, for instance, would have his or her own vision of what a light being is or isn't. So how many people would assume that a light being is going to have all the answers for everybody? It's one level of understanding that's beautiful for everybody if they accept it. So if we're open to many visions of mastery, right? That means we get those benefits from them. They create with us. They honor us. They look to us. They expect the best for us. They want to realign with our hearts. It's the minds that most people are trying to align with. And that means I have to look at my own heart and mind and say, what's going on in my mind that's keeping me back from experiencing the beauty of the bounty, right? For those of you that are in that mindset of I'm of lack or less than, it could be anything that you're not getting or not seeing in your reality. This is why we put the seeds out for those of you who want to know where your seeds need to be planted. It can be planted in the field of dreams. Others will say, I'm aware of my dreams. That's going to give you a good idea of where you're headed or where you were, depending on which field of vision you create with. Some people assume dreams are nothing more than processing of our current circumstances. However, how many people say, I have these dreams that make absolutely no sense? It's part of the vision of the reality in which we actually reside. And so our dream state is more in alignment with the mastery of the mind than many actually understand. So while I might put all those vision boards up on the wall and in the journals, be writing down all my hopes and dreams and visions of the future, it's not always going to work out that way if you're not sure who you're lined up with in the mind or who's creating what with you. It can be devastating for some of us who start to hear those visions of what others may be planting in our field of vision for us. So alignment with various groups who lift you up in their hearts and minds, for the most part, is very much appreciated. Now, does this mean that those, it's like the advantageous soul beings who just happen to walk into a room, light it up, and say, I'm ready to go, right? Those are the ones you want to be with, right? They've got it all figured out. They're radiating their beauty, right? They're light beings. That's what some people say. We're not all here to attract the vision of an angel. We could be just vibrating in the beauty of who we are. That's where we go with soul. That's when you start to really understand the nature of mastering your mindset, because your soul will let you know if you're having some struggles. You're going to know it, okay? And that's where we want people to start to really go into that process, if they're able to or willing to, of where does my vision land? Am I looking to others is one field of vision. And for the most part, that's not a bad thing. We're all here trying to influence many others. If we're putting videos on the screen, either we're sharing our lives or we're trying to, expose ourselves to the world in one way, shape, or form. My mindset is just fine, thank you very much. That's the beauty of who I am. I align with those who are of like, for the most part. Once I get out into the vision of, you say, Jesus as a follower, okay, it gets a little tricky sometimes, because in my mind, my own soul was saying, I need to rise to my own level of mastery. Thank you very much. How many people want to know what that vision was like for her? To say thanks, but no thanks. I love you as a soul, but I will not become a part of the flock. Okay, which is only in that vision of saying, I reside in that beauty of my mind is already creating a beautiful place for me in my soul's vision. I already know who I align with. It's not about saying I destroyed his soul. I get people who will say so many things of negative about who I am in my mind. Now, for you on the screen, I would say people are not going to understand that. This is where we start to come into that idea of we need to be our own masters. You call them the enlightened masters. Why do you think we ride that rail of love? Okay? So those are those visions of coming into the nature of mastery. Now, does it mean that I walk, talk, and act like a fool? Is where some people will go, because they'll say anyone who denies the vision of following one person or another is somehow being rejected by a lot of society. Well, that's the nature of it. That's their beauty, to be able to say, I don't want to create in my mind with this person, but boy, are we creating already, aren't we? The disconnect that I feel in my mind can often be played out in several fields of vision. If I am being held in the heart and mind of another, right? The protectors of the world. Many of us assume we need the protection in order to rise. That might be part of your clue, people, about where you're riding that wave. What are you planting by thinking you need protection? It's one of the strongest waves to ride, which is to say, I don't use anyone else's guides, spells, or witness protection. I get told if I'm in that plane of needing any protection, by the way. And that protection would be me knowing who and where and when I'm going to align with someone of potential issues with me. And then I do my appropriate actions. That's we were going to say the badass part of being connected and embodied with your soul. Okay. Once you get to that place of I've done that vision, we can then say, okay, so most people are not necessarily going to get to that vision of soul embodiment, right? It's part of it. What do you think they're doing? Now, for those of you who are like, no, I just want to have the better experience. This is true. This is for everybody. Okay? But to master it, you would indeed ride high in those rails of love. There's someone else who keeps getting their messages handed to them left and right. This is the nature of why we say, when you know what you know, I have someone in my heart who used to say that to me. I know what I know. And yet her vision was often destroyed in many ways by others around her. Yet she rose to a beautiful place of love. But it didn't feel good because her outcome was very destructive in many ways. I myself have had my hat handed to me several times, right? That's the nature of love for ourselves. It's why when you go to that idea of mindset mastery, it doesn't mean it's about just pleasing everybody on the screen. We master the field of vision that we reside in. If I need to leave the scene of a crime before it happens, you betcha I'm going to do it, right? How many of us know what that field of vision is like? Okay? It means I know what's coming. That's another form of mindset mastery. Others will say it's a predictive quality of fate. We have many who are going to be interested to know what that means. When you connect with souls on the other side, as we all do, when we lift our hearts and minds to the nature of Christ or Jesus or any other higher vision or source or deity, whatever, strokes your soul, okay? That's a very strong vision for us. I don't need to be a master in the mind to connect with my soul. I don't need to be a master in the mind to have my heart handed to me by many. I don't need to be a master in the mind in order to plant the seeds of beauty for myself and for everyone else around me. This is where that wave of awareness is coming in. We start to realize I may not agree with somebody, but I sure as heck don't have to hit them in the mindset, okay? But those feelings of hatred, that's going to be one ticket into love that's going to really rise into this awareness, very much so. So for those of you who are wondering, what else can I bring to the table to help myself to align with those highest visions of who I am in the moment, who I want to be in my future, and who I am about to become? Because most of us have these visions of I'm all that and more already, right? We're on this path of discovery where we want to be seen as more than who we are, right? Or just an enhanced version of where I'm at. I might not be in the fields, it's like pulling up potatoes or whatnot. Okay. I still create with my family tree of generations because of the work that I did with them. How many people want to know what that's like? It's why when I place my focus on certain aspects of who we are, we get the masters of the minds most often. Those who knew, I know how to rise when I need to. Others would say, I did my work, I'm happy, I'm successful. What is our vision? What are we looking for in our lives that we assume is a problem because of our mindset versus just the circumstances around our hearts? Maybe I didn't make the choice that would have got me to that higher level of vision, right? How many higher levels of vision do you think you have? It's endless possibilities for every person. Endless. So don't think that one path that was put behind you in your mind can't somehow be either brought back, but in an enhanced form, or replayed in a different timeline, and you're just not quite aware of it yet. That's all that is. Okay? So your mindset, while beautiful in the moment, may indeed have another vision playing out on another plane of reality. This is for those who know their stuff. That is in alignment with you, saying, I love you so much, I don't want to leave you. Those are those visions of I am reuniting with my hearts and my souls from various levels of understanding. It doesn't have to be those visions of people that I knew in my life. Those that we create with, we bring into our hearts. Those are those words of wisdom by those of the highest, right? They guide us in their minds. However, when we start to realize that my life isn't meant to be a follower of anybody necessarily, it doesn't mean I don't align with the beauty of the wisdom. But I'm not about to give up my freedom to create in the beauty of who I am. Now, some people will try to go down that route of I'm only going to use the words of one or two books to line me up to the highest of the highs. Others will start to see the wisdom of when we align with those movers and shakers in the world, who do you think is creating with us? Who do you think is creating with us? When we align with the movers and the shakers of the world, what does that mean? So you see, by entertaining the open air ability, right? If we're open to entertainment visions, who do you think I might be bringing through? Those souls that want to provide entertainment. Those souls who want to rise in their vision and entertain their viewers or their fans or whatnot. And then there are others who are say, I'm here to deliver the we were going to say the deliverance. There are others who are in that mode of the deliverance of souls. Okay. See, that's the nature of the twofold vision of channeling in some people's minds. Either you're of the highest of the highs or you're bad. It's very misguided from that field of vision, by the way. And that's okay. So for those of you who would say, I want to know my own mindset and where I'm at, that's another pleasure that we bring forth on Guidance for the Soul. Because when we do Guidance for the Soul, we mean we're going to tap in to those souls who actually want to know where they are in their mindsets, right? Doesn't that kind of give people a little hint about where we might be going? Get your hats and glasses ready. We're going on a wild ride. That's where I'm at with one of my most favorite viewers of all time, right? I want to tell people, your visions of my mindset is so positive and I'm rising in my mind, but I'm not seeing the results. It takes time for it to come to us. So we have to stop being so impatient with the visions that come to us and say, how do I hit the reset button, allow for another vision to come my way, and say, oh yeah, we're there. This is for you. It's like Jerry and Cynthia. I have two souls who cry in the middle of the night for various visions of love that they don't get handed. Okay? Because of their vision of, I was not a believer in this vision of guidance for the soul or channel for the soul. Okay? They're both beautiful visions. Okay? Now, for those of you on the end of the line who might say, Cindy and Max are other souls who are in that vision of creation with me in the moment. Okay? We often have people who align with us in their hearts, and sometimes we don't even know it. We don't even know that these souls that are around us have their own souls on the line, creating very much beauty for us. And that's the nature. When most people say, I'm creating all these things, but it's really, who are you surrounding yourself with in your hearts and your minds? This could be of past people. It doesn't mean it's all bad. Okay? Just because you don't hear your own specific vision doesn't mean it's not. I haven't got to you yet, is most likely where it's going to be. If I hear anything for anyone specific, I will either post it or I will contact you about what your vision is still screaming for. Okay? Now, honesty is the best policy. That's your vision. Just be honest. Lay it out on the line. Am I too stuck up on myself to do the vision that needs to be done for my family tree? That's where certain people will start to go. Did people assume that people who go on camera are stuck on themselves? Now, I want you to think about the generations we've got coming up now. Wait and see what happens in the next few generations. Technology will be honored, but it will be much less so in certain minds. Many are putting it as the devil in disguise because it's creating havoc in the minds of many. If you have no idea what's coming, you might want to tune in. Okay? It's like the 10-year itch. 10 years, people, is where we are. It's going to be a wild ride for 10 years. That's the nature of where those souls who start to come in as a generation are going to start creating a lot of victim mindsets. Okay? And this is where the mastery comes in. I want everyone to start thinking for themselves. I don't have to believe the worst about anybody. Or it would be like this person. I have people on the line who would say, I'm not going to abide by your vision because it's of sin. So I have those souls who would look at me and say that I am of evil or whatnot. And we have visions of post and whatnot that deal with what that creation is. I'm not in that vision with you, so I don't reside there with you. But we create a disconnect. But you have to understand your vision of, I don't create with it, I just say it. Now we get to the nitty-gritty. Did I put myself in the hellish realm because I told someone in my mind that I thought they were evil? Okay. What do I do to get out of that mindset? Do I plant the seeds for it or do I let it go? Usually just letting it go can be a good way of dealing with it, because that's your soul going to say you're not evil for thinking bad about people. We have to honor those emotions that we have. If you are stuck there for a long time, that might be a different problem for the other. They'll have to come through and start to, open that up to the nature of who I am and why I'm here. I'm not here to pussyfoot around the idea. You might want to stop thinking about yourself as in heaven or hell. Okay? It's not a two-plane awareness that we're dealing with. We reside in multiple visions of realities. And those that know me know that I ride many. I can hit those high notes very easily. For those of you that want to experience the beauty of the bounty, which is it's like the embodiment of my soul, I would say, let's start to go down that path for many. That's where we're headed. That's the nature of it. It's part of the process. You align with your soul. You start to get your hearts or your minds handed to you if you start to create havoc. So if you're ready to let go of a lot of the conditioning of your soul family, right? It's your families and friends here. They're all beautiful. We're not degrading anybody, but it might not be what is for you. And that struggle in your mind is what's keeping everyone back. So that means we have to take steps either to address it or we avoid it. It never gets just discarded usually. Okay. The manner in which we deal with it is one of time for many. That nature and the cliche that time heals all wounds is definitely out when it comes to soul. Because when you deal with love, because that's where our souls reside. If you are looking at me, you are in the, well, you could call it the heavenly realms or in that vibration of higher vibration. You will know it. You will know I don't intend for people to be hurt. I don't want to hurt people. I feel bad if someone gets hurt, right? Sometimes we have those feelings of, ooh, that feels good. That person that I don't like isn't really, doing good. Most of us don't reside there. We have our moments of it, especially with those ideas of public figures that we may not agree with. It's why you can see the beauty of being able to bring through people that, ride on both sides of the political arena. It means my heart's open to them. I don't like all of them in my mind, but, I tend to find people more fascinating than anything. And that's the nature of curiosity. So instead of approaching people as a victim, you can say, I want to learn as much as I can about the person that I don't like. And when you do that vision, you'll start to see the commonalities often in your hearts. Am I a victim of their rape? Okay, so this is those kinds of questions where we then go to that idea of I had to deal with a rape on a soul level with someone that never ever actually did the deed in the mind. Okay, so we're going to talk about, this is the kind of healing that people talk about it, but on a soul level, it's not a healing. You just know what you create, and you rise to the level of understanding that I've created some situation in my life that I'm not really happy with. And if you're creating, that with other people, you have to kind of figure out what person or persons might be influencing my decision to come clean, right? Many times when I come to people and I say, I'm having a vision for you, or I have the mindset masters on the line, we need to be honest with how strong we are in our vision of I want to make money versus I want to influence. So that's the nature of where we have to look at what's going on. If I'm here to influence people, I'm going to have to lay down the law, is where some people would say it's not a law. It's literally that idea that people are working with the law of attraction, and they're going to say there's no more better than in this world than that vision. It's only one piece of the puzzle. But when you embody your soul, it's a whole different arena. Okay? And that's what I'm trying to get through to people's minds, that it's not just about expecting the best for everyone around us. How many of us actually manifest everything that we see or hear in our mind? This is what we're manifesting. And if we don't like it, then we need to start thinking, how do I get a different result? Well, it's not just me creating that vision. That's why so many people go to those groups and they feel beautiful and lifted up, and then they go out into the world and it's not the same. It's because you're not all riding those same waves of awareness. How many of us are here to make a difference? That's that century of change. That's where we're going. We're going there very hard and fast in this world, on this plane of understanding, okay? And it's a developmental plane. We develop a lot of the ideas here on this plane. There's more planes to work with, because I've got some really cool people that are coming through. Now, there's an engine number 9, and someone knows what that's going to be. It's a message for your heart, and your souls are combining with each other. Okay? So the message of the moment is another vision for those who want to attract the vision of I love who I am. If you start to receive your own visions, I want you to reach out and say thank you to them in your mind. Say thank you so much for that vision, because I know exactly who that is and why it was sent to me. Okay, so if you hear something that resonates with you, please reach out to me and just say, hey, that one message about this or that, it was for me. Okay, because it's a good day to have those validations. And this is what we also encourage. So when you guys are doing your vision boarding or vision questing or your manifesting techniques, we're going to talk about what that means. How do I manifest, well, someone's going to say manifest destiny. We're talking a whole different idea than manifest destiny, but it's part of it. It's part of the collective vision of what manifesting actually is. So do we want to go to the nature of when do I start reaching the collective vision of manifesting? How do I manifest the soul level understanding of who's going to come with me on this ride that I call life, right? So these are the people that we invite into our groups and our houses, right? How many people say, I'm going to open up my heart to everybody or anybody? How many of us are like, no, I've built up a huge wall around me out of fear and safety concerns, right? That's a lot of people. We build the walls around our hearts and our minds, afraid to go to those places in our minds that might trigger us into revealing more about who we are. That's part of the mastery of our soul, too. Our souls are very much, it's like aligned and unique in their expression, but we create in unity. That's another expression for those of you who want to know what that feels like. When you get to that field of vision of I'm united in my mindset versus I'm creating division in my heart, right? It's mostly the mind. Some people do have to break free from the heart vision because it's so demanding of our energy. I'm not going to go to that field of vision of those who say, I love you, but I need to be set free. That's where those natures of it's like obsession or obsessed, it's like those obsessed or paranoid souls. Okay? You can have that field of vision of, I'm so paranoid about my safety in this world that I put up blocks and walls in order to free myself from the pain of ever having to create with another soul again. That's where certain people I know went. It can be that expression when you feel like the world is on your shoulders as well. Okay. So when you feel like the world is on your shoulders, you start to create from that vision of I'm taking on everybody's stuff. And this is where a lot of those ideas of empaths will start to put up the blocks, right? I'm not going to create with this person or this person. It can be done. I'm not going to demean anyone's experience or level of instruction in other methods that they feel is more superior than mine. By all means, always go with your gut, always go with your own vision, and always go with your heart. Okay? So if you feel like my life is just fine, I just wanted to know if I've mastered my life, you wouldn't be here if you mastered it. You would know better. You would say, I tapped in, I'm all there, and I'm good. I get my heart handed to me so many times by people that say that doesn't make sense based on the reality in which I see your own life. And that would be your own judgment of who you think I need to be in this moment. When I say I plant the seeds of love for everybody, it means about time. It's about time for people to see that vision as love. Okay? So, with that in mind, for those of you who are wishing to have more of a sincere and honest expression, right? What people don't understand is the sincerity and honesty of soul says that we have 5 or 6 people a week who honestly know how to master their mindsets. Okay? They're already on that path of mastery. It's already there for them. They're literally mastering it already. What they don't see is the result that they think they're planting. So you have to open up to what it's like Simon and Garfunkel. That's another vision for us. Okay? So, that's the nature. When you are the bridge over troubled water and everyone starts to come to you for their visions of what's going on and why, you'll start to understand why I can't just lay everything out on the line for those souls who are going to be watching this vision. Someone says there's going to be a nastygram in the mail in the morning. We used to call them nastygrams. Someone here has that on their heart. Okay, you're going to be receiving some letter that's not exactly pleasant, and you're going to want to throw it away, put it aside, discard it immediately, versus let me open it up, read the words of wisdom, and say to yourself, I guess I wasn't all that and more. This is where a lot of us keep reinforcing that by looking out to others. And this is why I'm saying don't ever demean yourself in my vision. I'm here to support and honor your own strengths, wisdom, guidance, and love for yourself. Not just for me. I don't need anybody following me, right? It's a characteristic of who I am. Okay, so just because I love that vision of I want to spread the word, it's of love for your own hearts. Not to sit there and just say, I want you to repeat my words. This is me showing you the beauty of the kind of guidance that we can tap into. When you see those memes, it's not just me. I'm giving you all of you. You're all a part of those words. All of us. Creating those words of wisdom that come out on the screen. Honor it as your own, because you're part of it with me. And that's the strength of love for soul. So with that, I want to say thank you and have a wonderful, wonderful evening. May your whole visions come true. The blessings in your minds and in your hearts are all on their way. It's just a matter of reaching out and grabbing onto them, right? We'll try our best to send those visions your way. It's not a free, it's like there's still free willy on the line, but that's the vision for someone else as well. They will hear the vision of love in that message. So again, take care and have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful evening. Good night.